with an all-new killing floor.
A wet March snow fell on Yellowstone and froze into a hard crust, forcing the bison to struggle through the deep snowpack. Seeking a more inviting habitat, 600 buffalo moved to open land along the park's northern border into the town of Gardner and toward local ranches. Rick Wallen and his crew had the wrenching task of helping rangers and Montana stock agents capture the wandering bison before they left the park. 264 were sent to slaughter. 198 that tested negative for brucellosis were held for release later that spring. Now they are watching the weather and hoping more bison won't leave the park. 40 miles south of Gardner, the Hayden Valley herd ambles slowly to lower ground, looking for better grazing. They follow warm, thermal-fed streams and rivers as they flow toward the invisible western boundary. More heavy spring snows could drive thousands of the hungry animals across the border into Montana and potential slaughter. The hungry bison have burned off most of their fat reserves during the long winter. Over time, they have learned to migrate along the park roads to conserve energy. This year, they get a break when a new law requires cleaner and quieter snowmobiles and forces more visitors into bison-friendly snow coaches for winter trips into the park. This spring, nature is kind to Yellowstone's bison. The dreaded blizzards never come, and the fresh spring grass sprouts early, encouraging most of the herd to remain in the safety of Yellowstone. Ice melts along the streams and rivers, exposing the carcasses of animals that died during the winter, providing a feast for predators. The large bison carcasses are an important source of protein for famished grizzlies and their cubs when they awake from hibernation. With sufficient grass growing in Yellowstone's meadows, wildlife managers choose to haze the bison in the Gallatin Forest back into the park instead of into the capture pens. It's a stressful experience, but better than being sent to the slaughterhouse. Montana livestock officials will continue to oppose free-roaming bison until an effective brucella vaccine is approved and administered to the Yellowstone herd. Unless there is a scientific miracle or a political change of heart, the border conflict may continue for years. As they make their way back to the Hayden Valley, a new generation is born on the hoof. Bison calves are constantly learning from the herd and from each other. And there's a lot we can learn from them too. A new generation of visitors can study the real, living history of the continent's past in a wild herd of bison, and through them, learn the value of preserving a wilderness at the heart of America. Rick Wallen finds something new to observe every season.
3 cows. I never get tired of watching bison. They are always doing incredibly athletic type things on the landscape. They are so perceptive and intelligent individuals, and how they communicate and function as a group makes incredible sense. I wish as humans we could be as efficient and socially responsible as the bison groups I watch on the landscape.
Under the current bison management plan, the Yellowstone bison population will be managed to keep the numbers at 4,000 animals. Despite their efforts, wildlife managers may never rid the Yellowstone bison herd of brucellosis. Yellowstone's large elk population also harbors the disease and will be a constant source for reinfection. Many biologists and wildlife experts believe that the Yellowstone bison are being unfairly singled out for persecution and that they should be treated as wild animals and not cattle. The troubled history of the Yellowstone bison herd reflects a broader conflict in the American West. Will magnificent but inconvenient animals such as wild bison be allowed to share the land with ranchers and their livestock? Or will human activities crowd out the last wild spaces and crush the wild nature of these messengers of the past? In this way, the spirit of a nation is tied to the fate of the Yellowstone bison.
Must have killed this impala last night because I can see she's already dead on the rump of it. But it's absolutely urgent that she gets the kill into cover as quickly as possible. She may even try and get it into a tree here, but first she's got to navigate her way through the rocks, and you can see it's a very heavy carcass. I would think a male impala like that might weigh 60 or 70 kilos, and probably she weighs about 40 or 50 maximum, so the carcass is considerably bigger than her.
After quite a struggle, she managed to stash the impala under a dense patch of croton bush, the perfect hiding place. We had set out early in the morning, the best time to catch lions in the open.
These are definitely the two males that were in the marsh pride area last week. The one nearest to me is the black-maned, and the one in front, the brown-maned lion.
It now seemed clear that these two males have their own pride in a territory on this side of the river. But pride males constantly try to expand their domain, and if the opportunity arises, they raid adjacent territories to try and mate with the females, which is exactly what happened last week.
As for the marsh pride, well, it hasn't really settled after the upset they suffered last week. We're now left with one adult lioness and what appear to be her 3 adolescent cubs. Though they have been showing themselves during the day, that doesn't mean to say they've been up to much. In fact, far from it.
I've been with these lions since first light this morning. Now the sun is setting, and in all that time, they've done absolutely nothing. Something lions are very good at doing. Now, ordinarily, this time of day would be a little bit frustrating because just as the light is failing, the lions think of getting up and going off hunting, and these conventional video cameras are no longer any use. But for Big Cat Diary, that's not a problem. We just call in the night shift.
We can't use ordinary lights on the cats at night because they dazzle both the predators and their prey. So the night team is using infrared technology, lights that are invisible to the human eye and the eyes of other animals, but perfectly clear to our specially sensitive cameras.
Yeah, Jonathan, these lions are still underneath that lone tree out on the edge of the marsh, so have a good night.
Okay, Simon, thanks very much. The main priority when you're trying to film the big cats at night is, of course, not to disturb them. And so I've covered my headlamps with infrared filters, and on the roof, I've actually got a small infrared camera, and that's feeding an image to a monitor here. So as I can...